Okay.
Okay, yeah,
Yep.
so
All right, man. Sorry, as I said, I'm totally ignorant with Zoom. So I always use Skype. I'm very old-fashioned today. I'm an old man after all.
okay.
Okay, so you're saying that you would like to be a base, but yeah, well, you cannot cheat anatomy, but there are ways to train, and get powerful down there. I mean, I'm a tenor, and I didn't have anything below a C, and
See, A,
nowadays,
whether
yeah.
it's chest voice or strobe bass, you can do it.
Well, I mean, this note, that was the lowest thing I could do, and nowadays, that's my F, and uh, and obviously with
Hmm.
a bit of vocal fry, and that would be vocal fry to a C.
Yeah, so
But again, we're talking about this is not, I couldn't use this note on stage. Maybe my F, maybe I could.
like with a microphone, I'm sure that you could definitely use that. But the low C, yeah, I mean, with all due respect, I don't consider that one part of your vocal range, but because it's hard to tell what note it is at that point for your voice, but your low F, I think, is valid.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why I say that my that C is a gimmick. But I obviously when I was a singer, I didn't remotely dream about being able to sing that F. So imagine that C, which I mean, again, I don't think is there every day. but
That's okay.
but but the thing is that what I have as a teacher, what I have, and I try to explain to my students is that notes are very close to each other. So we see octaves, and obviously it's due to when we read music and see see the stave and everything goes up. But in reality, octaves are really close to each other because our vocal folds are really small. So we think that one note is 1 kilometer, 1 mile away from the other. So
Hmm.
it's just like I kind of start on this F, right, and then la la la, and that's my high C. So then you'd say, and then you go, wow. So it such distance? No, they are very close to each other, and the less you move, the better. so
Okay,
so
one thing that is hard about doing an actual Fox change would be changing your passaggio, which would be quite rare, right?
yeah, but eventually your true voice comes out. There are so many cases. I mean, for example, Carlo Bergonzi always said that when he was a baritone, he felt that he was constantly under strain, that he was constricted, and it felt awful. And he sang Rigoletto, for example. Um, and then when he made the change, his true voice appeared. Now, was he a true tenor, or was somebody that made himself a tenor? Well, also you have to keep in mind when he got older, and unfortunately, I mean that's something that's a bit sad. And he sang in concerts. He was constantly flat, so the voice just went down somewhere. Whilst, for example, you have somebody like Kraus that actually the first thing that he lost when he got older was the bottom of his voice, but he never lost the top. He was a true tenor. In fact, it is said that he transposed pieces up. Like for example, Lucia di Lammermoor is like a semitone or a tone higher to sing it, which to me is like crazy. But Lo Forese, for example, it's another example. He started as a baritone, And you're talking about a guy that when he was 90 odd, he could sing, Di Quella Pira in tune. And you go, wow, he lost the bottom, he never lost the top. I don't know. There are so many things intrinsic to a voice that when you want to make the change, if the change is available, you have to consider the color of your voice again, the where exactly your voice glows and gives the best of you, rather than just one pivotal point. Because for me, passaggio is something that I don't use. I use this kind of pivotal point is that cover note. For the baritone, maybe E flat E. For the tenor, it's gonna be F sharp F. So it's not really as most people say, like, and this is very controversial. I mean, with McRae, we never talked about passaggio. There's no passaggio. There is no head voice. There is no mixed voice. Everything is chest voice for a male for male voices. And what makes you go and access your high register is actually the cover mechanism. What girare la voce, like the Italians say. It is an extension, because at the end of the day, everything is about vocal mass. That's all. If the cricothyroid is going to stretch your vocal folds, but obviously, I always use rubber bands. Obviously, this would be like head or whatever. This is my vocal fold, and I use this, and this is my head voice falsetto, right? So it has no vocal mass. This has full vocal, and that's a G. Okay, so, and the thing is that I can go from one to the other. So it's just a question of coordinating how much vocal mass you're using. So once you train that, obviously, having gone through that passaggio business, but then you can decide, oh yeah, I can make the change because I feel comfortable in this area. What is expected, for a tenor?
So, what is your vocal range?
I couldn't say really. I would say, from a bottom F to now, I'm very bad with the numbers. On a good day, I could say I could reach an E flat, maybe, but I'm more comfortable. Yeah, I was always like a D flat tenor. Yeah, D flats. I sang D flats in career. Trovatore, for example. I would put a D flat in Rigoletto, but I always had my high C, but I was not, I was not one of those hitting high Ds that actually they're quite ugly. So anything above a high C in a tenor, I think it's ugly, except for Lauri Volpi.
Sometimes I can envy basses, but I've also envied some of my favorite tenors too, because and because
Yeah,
some of their high notes are the most epic parts of the opera.
true. Yeah, and obviously, that's the part of a tenor. I mean, when mind you, everything has changed a lot. Like contemporary repertoire, as in big transition between Bellini, Rossini, Donizetti, voices del canto, because it was written for certain voices in the tradition of Rubini. So I don't know if you're aware of the anecdote, right, of Adolphe Nourri, and Dupré. There is a very good book. I really recommend it. It's called a Tragedy, or a Tragedy of a Tenor, or a Tenor's Tragedy. So Adolphe Nourri was let's say, the best tenor in Paris, in Paris, in the Opéra Comique, and he sang in that style in which the notes the high notes were done in what nowadays they call voce pharyngea. So it's kind of a reinforced falsetto. It would be if it's an E flat, it's something like sounds a bit like Mateuzzi, that kind of very high pitch, but that's reinforced falsetto. And then Dupré came along and sang William Tell and sang, what we consider the first do di petto, and Rossini said that he sounded like a castrated goose. and then this Nourri went to study with Donizetti, and because he couldn't get it, he couldn't bring the chest up to those notes. He committed suicide. He killed himself. It's a big tragedy.
Mm.
So
Wait, which guy was it again?
Adolphe Nourri. Adolphe Nourri. Yeah, I can write it for you in the chat if you want. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Yes, please.